Because of what is going on up there in the adult world during their formative years, Gen Xers are also developing another powerful set of unique core values that in many ways are toughening them in the right way for the adulthood that awaits. They're growing up to be pretty unimpressed with authority, kind of cynical towards older generations, distrustful of our nation's major institutions, and in 180-degree contrast to the older boomers, and as we will learn in another decade, the younger millennials, Xers are developing core values of disempowerment, and with disempowerment, its inevitable twin core value, disengagement. All around them, as they come of age, the adult world is failing to deliver on its promise, regularly lying and cheating and getting caught at it. Take the biggest institution of all, the federal government of the United States of America. Here is the only government of the United States that Generation X will know as it passes through its formative years and molds lifelong core values. 1973, the oldest Xers turn 8. Their parents tell them one night the Vice President of our nation just resigned in scandal. 1 year later, 1974, the first Xers turn 9. Their parents tell them one night the President of our nation just resigned in scandal. 1 year later, 1975, first Xers turn 10. Their parents tell them one night our government has decided to quit a war in Southeast Asia. 4 years later, 1979, first Xers turn 14. They join the rest of the nation in a 444-day count of Americans held hopelessly hostage by activists in Iran. 1 year later, 1980, first Xers turned 15. They share the national embarrassment of a failed attempt by their government to rescue those hostages. 1983 through 1988, and especially in 1986, as students, they will discuss the daily playing out of the Iran-Contra scandal. And on January 28, 1986, I dare say every one of you Xers in this theater and at home remember where you were when you learned that the Challenger space shuttle had just exploded. And the Xer experience with their nation's government will continue into the 90s. With President Clinton and Monica Lewinsky, and political campaign tactics, in which campaign strategists are now going to spend those hundreds of millions of advertising dollars not on educating we, the people, about their candidates' qualifications and beliefs, but instead using that money to attack the opponent at all costs, often inaccurately and often unethically. And that's the government of the United States of America to Generation X. And so these kinds of formative years experiences will cement in Gen X strong core values of distrust of my government, and with that distrust, the inevitable disinterest in government. And to this day, that core value shows up with Xers not reading the main section of the daily newspaper, less reading of that than all of the other generations, pretty well documented, and until very recently, a lack of interest in voting in elections.